Good afternoon, everyone. Just a few days ago, remember, Europe was supposed to be black, 50 degrees Celsius on the temperature maps. There was a few terse words between the weather forecasters saying, hey, you guys need to settle down with this scare on the heat. Turns out the highest temperatures were 46 degrees Celsius. I guess it was a scare story. But at the same time, during this whole record heat, they missed the record cold over in Russia and Siberia. Remember, this has been going on since July. It even started over in Canada with heat wave smashes records, sizzling Canada. Oh yeah, and those two spots, the other three are in the US. Even in the run up to the summer of heat, BBC, so hot, Glasgow Science Centre, roof is melting. Well, it's reflective paneling that's going to reflect heat. But somehow they forgot the worst winter in 42 years after 48,000 Brits died due to cold. Looking forward, August 8th to the 12th. Those below normal temperatures or the above normal temperatures? Which one do you think the media is going to focus on in the news headlines? July 2018, only 0.3 of a degree above the 1979 to 2010 average. And it's always good to have those skills of knowing that you can take care of yourself, growing your own food, microgreens or sprouts. TrueLeafMarket.com, the Adapt 2030 link is in the description box below, as well as the links to all tonight's stories and images, and the link to Mini Ice Age Conversations tri-weekly podcast, in-depth interviews and analysis on the intensification of the grand solar minimum, and the real reason that we're seeing all the extreme heat from the equatorial vortex, and what to expect going into this winter. Less than a week ago, the media was screaming, Europe, shock! European temperature maps turning black, reaching 50 degrees Celsius, deadly hot spell. And I do applaud the weather forecasters and meteorologists for jumping into the fray and saying, whoa, you guys really need to rein in what you're talking about. This is scaring people. You can check out the tweet debate between those involved in this, but it did not reach those temperatures. And we're talking about Celsius here, so if it's falling 4 degrees short of something Celsius, we're looking at around, 7 to 8 degrees Fahrenheit. That's a huge difference. So in the media, if they would have said, hey, it's going to be 45 degrees Celsius, that's not scary. That doesn't sell papers. That doesn't push global warming. It was all centered around Spain, southern Spain, because of the dust storms. Here we go. These were the final temperatures. There's a bunch of 45s in there and 146. That's it. That's all the higher the temperatures got. And nobody really questioned the media putting out all this scare tactic. Different look here from Weather US, Ryan Maue's charts. Again, when I don't see any 50s on there, even 48s, 49s, I just don't see it. This is during the same exact dates and times. And then jumping into the 6th of August, the media over in Europe still just pounding on this. Oh, it's so hot, it's so hot. 36 degrees Celsius, 32 degrees Celsius. Those are normal summer temperatures in the 90s. Are you telling me that suddenly because it's in the 90 degree Fahrenheit range that's abnormal? Ever since we've all been growing up, it always reaches into the 90s in the summertime. It's not unusual at all. Even a couple days in the hundreds, that's normal. Now moving forward, we're taking a look at the 850 millibar chart here, coming into August 12th. Now notice that massive cold front going to be rolling over the UK into Spain, France, and Germany, with temperatures as much as 10 to 11 degrees Celsius below normal. But then over in Central Europe, North Central, it's going to be about 68 degrees Celsius above normal temperatures. In your opinion, which one do you think the media is going to pick up on and run with until like it's no tomorrow? What do you think? And also coming into today, if you're watching the video on August 8th, see that green patch in North Africa, in Morocco there? That's also going to be 6 to 7 degrees below normal temperatures. But in Spain, it's still going to be a bit above, 5 degrees Celsius above, as well as Germany and France, 5-6 degrees Celsius above. Where do you think the media is going to focus? Now, with these massive weather fronts smashing together, which is expected during the grand solar minimum, that's why we're getting this extreme weather. So what's happening is the magnetosphere is weakening and our jet streams are going out of flow. They're not starting to. They've gone completely out of their flows. Now in the winter we have this polar vortex where this deep troughs from the Arctic are allowed to dip really far south as deep into North Africa, way down, past Morocco, past Algeria, way down into the Sahara Desert. And also as deep down into Cuba or almost South America last year, coming in North America. But this deep trough, the cold, and the upper ridge on the right, that's the equatorial vortex. It's doing the exact same thing coming off the equator. These wind patterns are different, pushing north, much further north. So the equatorial vortex and the polar vortex, they're the exact same thing, just in different seasons. Of course, the weather's starting to become more extreme. And you're seeing it bunch up on each other right now. Two seasons are starting to collide. Massive weather front on the way. I mean, massive. Please take cover when this thing comes through. If they give you warnings, seriously, heed them. And also with all these wind anomalies going on, part of the heat condition in southern Spain that you see there was created by this massive dust storm. It's happening everywhere. There could be dust blowing through deserts. But what I mean by these temperature changes and these troughs slamming together, here we go. This will be on the 9th of August. You start to see that really cold patch just to the southwest of the UK there. That's going to be going east and landing over France. These temperatures are going to drop significantly and suddenly, especially around the 10th. We're going to end up with a temperature map that looks something like this over Europe. Heat in the east, cold in the west. And you just have to follow where these temperature patterns are going to go as to see which capital cities are going to make into the news headlines. Already look for something over in Poland. Poland's going to get a news headline that has record heat. Watch it already. And look for Finland as well. You don't see Finland in the news that much, but I'm looking at the heat map here and you're going to start to see it. So these are the two countries that I'm forecasting based on the news's bias that they're going to follow the heat through Finland and in Poland. And they're going to totally skip cold coming to France, cold that's going to sweep through the UK, the record cold that's going to come over in Germany, and the cold that's going to sweep across the western portion of Norway. They're just going to skip it, just like they skipped the record cold in Siberia at the exact same time as this heat event was going on in Western Europe. Dozens and dozens and dozens of temperature records were broken to the cold side August 1st and August 2nd, taking back 1919 temperatures, and a host and list of others. They're all up here on iceagenow.info, Robert Felix's site. And the list, it does go on in the articles. So nobody picked that up in Siberia. They only wanted to focus on the heat in Spain. Now, New York Post, they carry a bevy of different articles as well. But they were also pushing the Spain and Portugal heat wave that could push Europe's previous record highs set in 1977. Now, wait a second. You've been telling us this whole time that this is the warmest year ever, and now we have to go back to 1977 to find those warm temperatures? Seems like a cycle to me. Let's look into the solar cycle and see if we can find any similarities. 1974, you can see that, the fifth entry from the right going back, 07. 1974, July. Looks like that happened in a solar minimum, those 1977 temperatures. Where are we now? We're also in a solar minimum. Now we're entering into this more grand solar minimum. So on the very far right side, you'll see solar cycle 25. That's all the more solar activity we're going to have. And you need to compare that back to 1745 on the left of the chart. And you'll see really where we're going to go with our temperatures and why these weather patterns are becoming so irregular and so erratic. And the very reason I started my channel to discuss the crops that are going to be lost during this time, the social chaos it's going to create, and the news distractions that are being put in front of you to try to distract you from all the rising food prices and the crops being lost. So here's the progression from July. Let's start off with global news. Heat wave smashes records around the world. Look at sizzling temperatures, heat blankets, eastern Canada. They even put a nice map here. But only two of those areas are in Canada, Ottawa and Montreal, the fourth and fifth entries down there in the beginning of July. And they also try to point out record heat across, these four places. Russia, Ireland, Scotland, and Armenia. And for some reason, they also included the BBC Scotland news article here. How hot? So hot, the Glasgow Science Centre roof is melting. Now look at the panels on this thing. And we all know what glass and mirrors do You can melt something with sunlight using a mirror if it's directed in the right place. And then they wonder why. The caulking between the panels is melting. Well, if you're using reflective mirrors, maybe that would explain it. And also at the same time, they were talking about the record heat, just how hot it was through the month. And I'm like, wait a second, just a month prior, cold, and 48,000 Brits dead after the worst winter in 42 years. And somehow that just didn't make it in the mix. So I'm trying to keep it even and show you both sides of it, cold and warm. But here's CO2 Coalition, and we have two satellite temperature data sets here. The red is RSS, which is called Remote Sensing Systems. And then the green is University of Huntsville, Alabama, UAH. Dr. Roy Spencer maintains that. But notice even in the temperature data set for satellites, the difference in measurements. And RSS always running hotter than UAH. Despite a 13% increase in atmospheric CO2. Now you notice where the far right of the chart is 2016. And if you just draw a line right where the peak is, even if you use remote sensing systems peak, you can draw it all the way back, all the way back, all the way back. And it sure doesn't look like the warmest ever to me. It looks like that 1997, 1998 era was, and also 2010 and 11. So I pulled up Dr. Roy Spencer's site here, which I've linked below. He does amazing research, maintains the site diligently, and I give him very high credit for keeping this data set available for us to compare. UAH, satellite data. And you know, the IPCC loves to point to this now because they can cover the oceans with satellites where there's no monitoring buoys out there to verify that there's global warming. Well, this is from 1979 on the left side, all the way to 2018 to July, just last month on the right side. And you know what? It's only 0.3 degrees above. So all these runaway projections, the IPCC was saying that it would warm 2 degrees Celsius by 2050. We're not anywhere close to that. And the looks of it, as we're getting into the intensification period of the grand solar minimum, these temperatures are going to continue to drop. It's going to get extremely cold this winter. There's more ice in the Arctic that's going to create different wind patterns that are going to push down over North America. And also this chart shows the exact same thing. 1997 and 98, warmer. Also the El Nino year of 2015, warmer. Also the year 2010 and 11, warmer. And I guess we can go to 2003 and 4, warmer than today. And what I mean by that is also the way the grid is structured. Each year has its own set of boxes in the grid. So even if we look at the entirety of 2018 up to this date, there's still many periods, even since 1979, that are warmer than today. So I just don't know how the media can still be so disingenuous, telling you that it's the all-time this, the all-time that. And then in the same very article, they quote that it's the 5th warmest or the 6th warmest July. That's because they're looking at this chart here and they have to say it's the 5th warmest or the 7th warmest July, depending on where they are, because it is. And it's not the all-time warmest either. So when they say it's the second most heat recorded on our planet ever, please refer them back to this chart. The links in the description box below say, hey, take a look at the University of Alabama Huntsville satellite-based temperature and ask them why they print such mistruths in our media. See, we need to start holding the media accountable because they're putting up smoke screens now for the losses that are happening in our crops to keep you distracted. And this is going to be the whole meme moving forward. What we're seeing with social media and the banning of so many high-level voices out there, the half-truths that are in the media and the distractions of just garbage reporting that's out there. This is all the play. I'm going to go much more in depth in the next couple of videos about what to expect as we move forward with the economic collapse 1 year before the food shortages start. The banning of social media personalities, I already talked about that to control the narrative that is, with the closer we were getting to true social chaos due to food pricing, that they would start taking high-level people off first and then just start censoring everybody who had anything to say opposite of what the media was reporting. They were going to start with politics first, and they're going to move into weather. We're starting to see that now, so the timeline that I have forecast out, along with so many others, stays. 2019 is the year that you will never forget as long as you live, and 2020 will be the year that our society changes. Thanks for watching. Hope you got something out of the video. More in-depth analysis at the Tri-Weekly Podcast Mini Ice Age Conversations. That link is below as well, so just go into the description box, click on it, it'll bring you to the newest episode, 81, where I was talking about some of these same issues on Studio A Revolution Radio.